Hello, good morning. My name is Odwa Kamimo, and this is Cheche, the show where opinion counts, live on Citizen TV. Now, if there's a county that Kenyans might be falling over themselves to relocate to, it's Machakos. A Machakos City development plan was launched last week. Before that, investment conferences raised billions of shillings in pledges. Now, that's all happening under the stewardship of former government spokesman turned His Excellency, Dr. Alfred Mutua-Governor of Machakos. He says he wants to restore the county, Kenya's first capital, to its former glory. Now, helping us work out whether we should believe the hype about Machakos will be the Cheche panel of Mutegi Njau of Royal Media Services and political analyst David Makali. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, thank you.
You're a communications professional. You're a publisher, producer. Yes. You seem to be creating a lot of hype around Machakos. Why should we believe you?
I don't think you can sell air. If you've been to Machakos, you can actually smell, see, feel, and even taste the change that is happening. What we are doing in Machakos is making sure that we don't just talk about what we want to do, we actually do it. And then people can come and see what we've done, because that is what people want on the ground.
Okay, so you've brought us these pamphlets talking about the projects you're planning for Machakos. Break it down for us, because from the launch we saw that you have an ambitious city plan. How do the people of Machakos, beyond getting these, shiny, fancy new buildings that, you have in your document?
There are many. The first thing that I did is, after I finished my campaigns, or during my campaigns, I realized that there's a very big problem in this country in terms of poverty. People are living very poor lives. I saw mothers struggling to hold my hand. And they're not holding my hand because they like me. They're holding my hand because they were crying out for help. And they were telling me, please, when you get to that office, do not forget us. I saw young boys, young girls, just with a sense of hopelessness, asking me, will you be different this time? Will you be different than what they have known? And so when you look at the rate of poverty in Machakos and all of our country.
Because it's one of the poorest, actually.
It's one of the poorest.
Country, yes.
You look at over nearly 50% of people are living below $1 a day. We realize we need to change. And so apart from the city is just one of the many projects that we are undertaking. We're looking at, for example, the problem of water. And we've bought drilling rigs, and we plan that by June of this year to have drilled nearly 700 boreholes. We have a very ambitious program of water. We have a lot of water in Ukambani. It rains, it floods, and then the water goes away. So we're saying, let us harvest
that in your manifesto.
So let us harvest some of those things. So we've got a program in water, things that actually touch humanity on the ground.
How do you intend to? Boreholes, expensive things to build.
No, it's not. It's only expensive because you use contractors. So what you're doing, we are looking at it this way. To actually dig a borehole will cost you about 2 million shillings. So to dig 10 boreholes will cost you 20 million shillings. To buy a rig, will cost you 10 to 12 to 13 million shillings. So if you have your own drill, you can dig as many boreholes as you want, as you like. So the first year, we're harvesting water. The second year, we're equipping those boreholes and starting basic reticulation. Third year, massive tanks and more reticulation. Fourth year, piping everywhere to allow people to actually access the water. So it's a 4-year plan, but it all starts with harvesting of the water. So drilling has always been very, very expensive because you're contracting somebody to do it. So for the amount of money that I'm paying somebody else, I can actually dig 10 boreholes instead of one borehole at the long run. So those are some of the things that we're doing. Food security, for example. We realize that only 25% of land in Machakos is actually cultivated. We talk about a bumper harvest. It's a very small portion. So I think like a businessman, Makali is a very good businessman. And if you want to grow your business, you seem very skeptical, you increase your your bottom line, the amount of money you're making. So we thought, let us do like what they do in Malawi, let us do like what they do in Australia, in Canada, in the US, they are now starting to do it in Malaysia, they do it in China, increase the amount of land being cultivated by actually providing people with machinery. So we have a program, it's a subsidy program. We've already bought 40 tractors. We are going to increase them to 120. 40 are on the ground right now, plowing for free, going to these widows, telling them your land extends all the way there. Let us plow. and here is free seed, here is subsidized fertilizer. Let's increase the output. And to make sure that our people do not die from aflatoxin.
Once again, when do you get the money to buy the tractors?
The money is there.
From what?
Devolution. We've been, the control of budget has told us to put our budgets together. We're required to put our budgets together.
Actually, you're one of the first.
And we captured everything in the budget. We had our manifesto. We decided we were going to have this. So it's in the budget. So we are not working off the budget. So the money that you're getting, the devolved
which is
funds,
8.1 billion shillings.
that's the total budget.
Yeah, that's your total budget.
The one you get is about 5 point something, and then our own local collections. So we're utilizing that money. And the way we are doing it, Mr. Mutegi, is making sure that we have prudent utilization of funds. We want to squeeze every shilling to give us more. For example, in Machakos, we are building a road because I wanted to know how much it costs to build a road. So we're building a road in the city of Machakos. I personally went to industrial area in Nairobi to actually buy the bitumen because I want to know the cost of bitumen. And by doing that, by going to the quarries myself and my officers, you find you slash the cost of doing things by nearly 50%. So that shilling is squeezed even more. So we don't have a lot of money. But if you utilize that money as if it is your own personal money, then you get more for 190.
Okay.
So maybe let's look at just the first year.
Yes.
What is your priority during this first year? Because you're facing out things over 5 years.
Not everything.
Some of which, for example, when you mentioned water, you said first year you drill, second year you do what? The third year you pipe, the fourth year, reticulation. I'm just wondering, when some of these things need to be done together in the first place.
What usually happens is that there's a lag time between harvesting water and equipping, and it all comes down to resources. So we've decided we put 1 billion shillings per year because that's all we can afford. You have to live within your means. If I got the 4 billion shillings pop like that I could just utilize in water, I would do it. But then I've got to take care of healthcare. That is why we're using 464 million shillings to actually upgrade what are called health centers in every ward. There are 40 wards into community hospitals.
Healthcare is quite critical for Machakos as well, because I believe you've got only one hospital and several community facilities. You don't have tertiary institutions, you don't have secondary or even primary level institutions at all.
What we're doing is that the CDF enabled members of parliament to build a lot of dispensaries and health centers popping up everywhere that have not been equipped, that do not have staff. So what we've decided is we want to treat people at the grassroots level. So in our 40 wards, we are building, basically expanding what is existing and building community hospitals so that each of those hospitals have a well-equipped hospital with a lab, with an X-ray machine. X-ray is a science technology of the First and Second World War. It's very old and very cheap, with a mini theater, with a maternity, and with a ward. So that now the people being referred to Machakos level 5 hospital are the very serious cases. But you can't have just clinics and hospitals if people can't get there. That is why as we speak right now, I just got a report, our ambulances are just about to dock. We've bought 70 ambulances, one per location, as a part of our emergency and rescue service to take our pregnant women to hospital. Because in Machakos, where I was born, our mothers, when they're giving birth, are being carried by wheelbarrows, by mkokotenis, to hospitals. So we're saying that shame of the 14th, 15th century has to go away. So we've got, what we're doing is you look at a project and you don't just look at it by itself. What other factors surround it? And you take care of all of them within the money that you have so that you can actually change the fate of our people.
This is all very ambitious, but given that Machakos is quite poor, and your educational levels are actually also quite low, how are you scaling up the capacity of the people of Machakos to take advantage of all these ambitious plans you have for them?
What we're doing is twofold. First of all is trying to empower people to be in a position to take care of this, to actually do these activities. When you're hungry and you're starving, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually even understand what the teacher is telling you. This year, for example, for Standard 8 and Form 4, we've provided food to all our candidates in Machakos. So as they do the exams, they're actually eating, whatever. But we need to empower these young people so that even as they go to classrooms, because we are building village polytechnics and expanding some of our education sectors, we are providing them means of creating wealth. We have just unleashed a program where we've started giving youth. We're giving 2 million chicks, vifaranga, to our young people. And we're telling them, Shika kifaranga ni hii, it is free of charge. This is how you take care of it. This is part of subsidized and free feed. And we are going to go back in 3 months because we've already identified markets and buy these vifarangas. You know, he's very happy now because you're talking about kuku. He's very awake. Buy these vifarangas and be able to sell them. You know, we look at markets in India, markets in the region, markets in Kenya, so that they can also be left with some money. They plow it back. So we are taking them from the ICU to the general ward right now because they have nothing. So that this young man at least is not hungry. This young woman at least is not hungry as they go to class. Okay. So we're looking at
you seem to be on a free roll with freebies, a lot of freebies. Is this an initial process and then finally people have to, work for these things, or your philosophy is to provide arms?
What you usually do is that when somebody has collapsed and they have passed out, you don't, when they are in a coma, you don't tap them and ask them for the insurance card. You revive them first, you remove them from the ICU to the general ward. When they are healing, and that's when you tell them, now let's talk about what is going on. Yeah. It's the cost of treatment. So our people actually in dire.
The likelihood is that people might get used to getting things free. Yeah. So when eventually you want to tax them or say pay for some of these things, because you can't have enough resources forever to just give things freely.
What you're doing
I agree
is
with the philosophy
people.
That you start.
You're empowering people. Yeah. You're not giving things for free. You're empowering them. These young people know you've been given one shot to take care of these chicks. We buy them, but the second round...
From where? Where are you getting chicks from?
We're getting them from around. There are hatcheries. There are very many hatcheries in this country. Actually, Kenya supplies chicks to the region. There are many hatcheries, and we're also forming our own hatcheries. The idea is to buy them at a very, very low cost because we're buying them in large numbers, taking care of them, growing them, and being able to sell them.
Okay, fine. So you've given us an overview of your plans beyond Machakos City. Let's talk about the city itself, because you've raised billions of shillings. We saw this fancy model of the city. You've talked about this recreational park, an amphitheater. You talked about the governor's office, all sorts of things. How are you structuring the investment that's coming into Machakos?
When we thought about building a new city, it was based on a philosophical paradigm that all good things flow from the city. If you look at the Roman Empire, for example, you look at the Roman Empire, it grew because of Rome. That's why they say...
Because it had a metropolis.
It's a metropolis. You look at London, for example, the financial center. You look at Nairobi. Nairobi contributes what percentage of economic growth to this country? It's, I think, I don't have the figures, but it's the largest because all things flow from a city. So we wanted to create a metropolis which would attract. The way I usually say it is this. Look, if you're going fishing, and like my friend Makali here, you may like having a drink once in a while, or you may like nyama choma. You don't hook your nyama choma, or you don't hook your chocolate to the road. You don't. You hook a worm, even though you don't eat worms. So this is our worm, to bring investors to Machakos, to hook them.
Okay.
And so what we've decided to do is to build this new city, give people an opportunity to come and participate in the creation of a well-planned, organized, and vibrant metropolis.
Okay. No, the logic is clear, because we understand that, institutions like Nairobi Hospital have said they're interested in building a hospital there, and various others have come in to say they'll do this, that, or the other. How are you structuring this, though? Is this public-private partnership? Is it, build, own, transfer? What exactly are you doing?
What you're doing is we're looking at a resource. We don't have oil like our friends in Turkana, or some of the other resources they have at the coast and others. So we looked at what we have in Machakos town that we can give. We have land. Land that have been sitting there since time immemorial. The colonial government, saved this land for keeping cattle in 1932. From 1905, 1932, since independence, nothing has happened. We say, why don't we transform these pieces of grass into wealth? So we want to be able to allocate this piece of land to serious investors through a very feasible program with that has been voted by the county assembly, so that these people come and say, okay, because Nairobi is bursting on its seams. People are looking for opportunities. Most of the people coming are saying we can't get anything to do in Nairobi. There is no land, there is no expansion program. So you say, come, put up your factory here. BMW are looking for a place to put up their factory. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, all these companies are looking for places to put up their factories that aren't necessarily in the city center of Nairobi. Small manufacturing companies, hoteliers are looking for places to actually establish. So you tell them, okay, listen, here is the land. Following are the conditions that you need to. First of all, the land is not transferable. So you don't get this land and sell it to somebody else. You actually utilize it for what you've been given the land for. Within 1 month of being allocated the land, you need to fence it. Why? That means that if all these people are fencing, my young people who are unemployed in Machakos are already getting some employment. There's some money for them. Within 3 months, you have to start constructing. That means you're employing more people. Within 18 months, you actually have to open a phase of your utility for use, because that will now generate the city growth. So those are some of the conditions we're putting. A smart city, huge windows, solar panels, and harvesting water. Every person
so
who gets
city.
A green city,
Right.
environmentally friendly city.
What criteria are you using to, decide which investors take up land? And how sure are you that some of them, just to be rushing in, then after a while the disappointment, then nothing happens after they fence the places?
What usually happens is that
because the timelines you're giving, in my knowledge, are very short.
Short.
1 month, third month, things don't run like that.
You see,
usually.
What usually happens is that before anybody is given land, they have to prove they're able to do it within the set timelines. And people have money. People have come to our offices with bank statements and letters with 5 billion, 3 billion sitting in the bank. They're ready to go. Nairobi Hospital said they are ready to start in January. Right. The board has already approved. So the thing is, some people will not be able to hack it. That is why there's a clause, if you're not able to do it as per the set guidelines, because the amount of land, you lose your land. The amount of land that is required by investors so far requested for is over 13,000 acres. Okay. Right now we have about 4,000 acres.
Right, but you're still not telling us
and others around,
how you've structured the partnerships, because to some extent, listening to everything you're talking about, it sounds like you might be mortgaging Machakos. During your speech last Friday, you talked about the governor's office, and the only thing that you're paying for really is labor. Doesn't that put you in an awkward position, conflict of interest?
Not really, because CSR is allowed. And if people are very excited about what is happening in Machakos and they want to chip in one way or another, we don't have, when people come and say we're going to give you free steel, the county government does not even have money to buy steel to do these things. It's going to be done by the private sector. These are people who are very excited about what is happening. And they're saying we
understand all of that, but we're all communications professionals here, including you. So you understand the concept of ethics and conflict of interest. Now, if Portland Cement is donating cement and you've given them land, and somewhere along the line you find that they are flouting, your terms or violating things, environmental problems, how do you as the governor say, I'm chucking you out of Machakos?
You deal with it, because the two issues are totally unrelated. The amount of people who come to our county, not just to give to the governor's office, but to our people, are very many. Just because you come to Machakos and donate to the level 5 hospital, an ICU kit, or you go to the village and do 3 or 4 boreholes, does not mean that you do not obey the rules of the county. We structure it in a very serious manner, so it's not about you as an individual, it's about what you're able to do on the ground that is provable.
You have said you have only 2,000 acres?
No, we have 2,200 acres in the city center, and we've got an extra 2,000 across the county, because we don't just want investors to come to Machakos town. Machakos County is a big county, from Masinga to Mwala to Kadhiani. We want factories of fruits, for example. Don't put a fruit factory in Machakos town. Take it to Masi or to Mbiuni, where the mangoes grow. Right. So that's how we're looking at it.
Okay, we have to take a break now. This is Cheche, live on Citizen TV. We're talking about Machakos County and what it's getting right with Governor Alfred Mutua. If you've got any questions or opinions for him, the SMS number is 22422 and the Twitter handle is Cheche_TV.